Mori is a disgusting and useless young orphan who was adopted by an old man. This one raised him in the mountains while teaching him a unique and special martial art called the Round of Renewal. But one day, his grandfather told Mori that it was time for him to go to school in the city to study hard and make friends. Mori felt very sad and cried, but in reality he knew that the old man just wanted to buy milk and never come back. Jean Mori, a 17-year-old martial artist, is late to the preliminary tournament because he was chasing a purse thief on a motorcycle. But he catches up with the help of Yumira, a 17-year-old swordswoman, and Handao Daehui, a 17-year-old martial artist. The rules are simple. They can use any martial weapon or any weapon. Everyone must be injected with nanomachines to monitor all this data. It's simple. Veto or even heal his wounds. The presenter announces that the first fight will be a mass brawl between them. Several fighters are easily defeated, but the organization decided to send a convicted criminal, Kang Mansuk, into the stop. He is a powerful martial artist, but he only fights using his legs because of his handcuffed wrists. Mira tries to fight him but is humiliated when he steals her wooden sword with his feet and tries to look under her skirt. He quickly turns his attention back to Mori, whom he lays down with a kick but injures his ankle. The organization halts the fight and lays out the basic battles. Mori thinks he's never been able to fight Mansuk because Mira accidentally broke his neck since she didn't have her glasses. Mori, Mira and Daehui walk together, and Mori asks them why they participated in the tournament. Mori explains that he signed up because he wanted to fight all kinds of people. He also wants revenge against the commissioner who spotted him. Daehui wants money to pay for his friend Wu Sung-tae's medical expenses. Mira, on the other hand, wants to revive her family's dojo. Mori, who stole her sword, asks her how she manages to allow people to easily snatch it. As she tries to recover it, he ends up falling into the river. Mori and Daehui end up helping her to retrieve it because it was a gift from her father. When the category fights begin, Mori and Daehui join forces to help her retrieve it. Mori, Mira and Daehui easily win their match. Mori only used his points. It was clearly an easy fight given his fighting style. He only uses his legs when it comes to fighting formidable foes. Intrigued, Mori watches Mansuk fight Gando. The style difference is huge. Gando practices Tai Chi while Mansuk practices Nordic-style Taekwondo. Mansuk beats Gando by making him beg for mercy. Mori, furious, knocks out Mansuk. Mugen appears to restrain and punish Mori for interfering in the match. A secret sect watches the tournament. We find out that the organization is wondering whether to disqualify Mori or not, but when asked about her decision, Mugen recognizes Mori's grandfather, Gene Taylor. The other battles continue. Mira confronts Emma H. Myson, an American wrestler whose only desire is to create her own male harem. The fight seems close to end. Kamira loses her sword, but she unveils that her family's martial arts also include a swordless style that lets her win the fight. In a room, Mori learns that he can keep his place in the tournament if he beats one of the commissioners. Mugen gives him a bag of fruits, which Mori eats at night but ends up vomiting blood. On the other hand, Daehui learns that his friend Seung-tae has opted for more expensive medicine. He is against Baek Seung-chul, who fights with a baseball bat. Although his organs are damaged, Darwin manages to win by destroying his bat and incapacitating his opponent. At last, Mori awakens and makes it to his fight just in time. The rule of his fight is that he must knock out the commissioner, which Mori does easily after taking off the commissioner's glasses. Infuriated, the commissioner summons Joker, his Shariok, a contracted supernatural entity. He is held back by his companions in order to keep Mori alive. So, as the matches wrap up for the day, Mira is approached by Seongja, a martial artist and businessman, who proposes marriage to her, promising to make her sword style famous worldwide. Mira accepts the proposal and withdraws from the tournament. Mori, furious, suspects Seongjin of having a hidden agenda. A flashback shows us that Seongjin is on a mission to obtain Mira's moonlight sword style, a technique capable of defeating a god. He is a member of a secret cult. Mori, with Daehui's help, attends the wedding to persuade Mira. With the help from Mira's uncle and cousin, Mori convinces her to cancel the wedding. Seongjin, full of rage, admits his plan and calls his chariot to assassinate them, but he is defeated. He still manages to escape after stealing Myra's sword. Myra doesn't worry about the situation and decides to return to the tournament. Later, Daewoo learns that the state of holiness is getting worse. At work, Daewoo is harassed by several bullies and ends up beating them all. During the official semi-final match, Daewoo and Mira meet. Daewoo beats Mira savagely and promises to win against Mori in the final. When Daewoo comes back to reality and realizes that Mira has lost consciousness during their fight, he remembers his friend Seungtae, with whom he was in rivalry, but who became his friend. During the second semi-final, Mori faces Bayon, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter, but Mori simply destroys his enemy, as if sending a message to Daewoo. Mori decides to visit Myra during her treatment. She encourages him to fight for the right reasons and not for revenge. The final match begins. Daewoo and Mori are tied, but Mugen wants Mori to wake up. Mori knocks out his opponent and tries to show mercy, but Daewoo takes advantage to launch a powerful attack. Daewoo's will to fight was due to Mugen's promise to heal his winning friend. While Mori is knocked out, Mugen arrives and informs him that Seungtae has passed away. Choked, Daewoo recalls his friendship and decides to surrender. Myra suddenly arrives and hands Daewoo a letter written by Seungtae. He regains the will to fight and he throws himself wholeheartedly into the battle. Mori ends up winning the match with a final blow that Daewoo takes with a delighted face. Muji is pleased to have found two small tigers, while everyone watches the three friends leave the arena together. One night, Jin Taejun, the long-lost grandfather of Mori, is invited to join the secret cult. But as they refuse, the cult invokes their god to end his life. Mori, on the other hand, is now the regional champion of Seoul. He will participate in the national team tournament with Daewoo and Mira. To advance to the third round, Mira easily defeats her opponent. Mugen expects that one of the national fighters is the key waiting for him. Because of a group known as Nox, the commissioners Sanket and Mugen invoke the Six. One of the members is Nabongshim, Mugen's former master, who decides to take Mori as an apprentice just for fun since he is Taejun's nephew. During her day off, Myra meets Sim Bonsa, the tournament announcer, while she is shopping and finds out he is blind. He gives her advice to channel her emotions into the sword. That's how she will awaken the true force of Moonlight Steel. When Bonsa walks away, he is approached by Priest Drake MacDonald, a Nox assassin, and ends up dying. On the other side, Daewoo wants to know the hidden forces behind the tournament. Mugen tells him about Shayuk and the tournament's powers. When he meets his partners, Daewoo tells everything to Mori, but he is only excited about the idea of facing other opponents. At the beginning of the tournament, Mori's team faces the regional champions of North Finchon. Thanks to Bongshim's teachings, Mori uses acupuncture techniques to increase his strength, but he ends up pressing the wrong points and paralyzes his body, leading to his defeat. Daewoo has to face Jin Pengguang, who wants to help children who are struggling in school. Pengguang finally summons a huge hammer with his charyuk, Daewoo gang managing to block the attack and destroy the hammer. On the other side, Drake, the assassin, finds Commissioner Q and attacks him, bragging about what he did to Bonsa. With his Haryok, Q manages to grab Drake's arm, but he reconnects it using his Haryok. Reinforcements arrive from both sides, but the commissioners easily win the fight. Mugen concludes that there is a traitor among them. Back in the arena, Myra faces Jang Jiangmi, a kendo practitioner, but she manages to win the match for her team. In the semi-finals, Park Ilpyo uses Tachyon, an ancient martial art, and his Sharyuk, the nine-tailed guardian. Due to Ilpyo's jacket, Mori starts suspecting his past, as it's the same military uniform as her grandfather's. Daewoo starts to take interest in his Haryuk, but Mori, he doesn't care. Ilpyo approaches Mori and explains that after his father's death, his mother abandoned him. He also tells that Taejin gave him a Tachyon training manual written by his deceased grandfather. Meanwhile, Taek tries to take Ilpyo's life, but almost ends up killing Mori, who was saved by Ilpyo. Due to his previous fight with Drake, Q's salary is confiscated for the next 9 months. Q therefore proposes to Dahiwi to exchange Sharyu's training lessons for a meal a day. As Mori thinks about his grandfather, Myra and Dahiwi surprise him because it was his birthday and he was feeling alone without his grandfather. The trio decides to win the tournament and fight a duel to see who is the strongest. The next day, Mori finds an envelope with a photo of Tajin and a card. Dahiwi is suspended due to his intervention in a game, leaving the team with the only chance of winning both games. Mira duels with the Marine who possesses the sword she stole. He claims to have unlocked all the power of the sword instead of Mira. Myra manages to retrieve it, but notices that the sword recognizes Marin as its true owner and returns to him. On the other hand, Mori follows the clues to find Tajem and discovers it's a trap. He fights Long, who uses his Charyuk to create clones. Mori is overwhelmed by clones, and Felon reveals that the team they were supposed to fight is dead. They were replaced by Nox cultists. Mori presses some acupuncture points, and claims he won't feel anything for an hour. Myra, beaten by the sailor's double, refuses to give up and gains the power of the Bufantian Chariot Club and full ownership of her sword, which allows her to win the victory. An angry Mori finally appears. He easily beats the second imposter, while using the same moves he used to defeat Felon in the same way. According to his mentor Bong Shim, Mori has finally become a real tiger. The semi-final of Mori is against Ilpio's team, who is looking for the prize to pay for the surgery of Sunjion's leg, an injury caused by Taek. Morgand explains to Mori's group that Nox wants to exterminate all gods and Sharyuk users. He also says that Mori is too weak to help his grandfather, but if he manages to win the tournament, he will give him information. On the day of the game, Dahiwi bapak Sunga. Ilpio worries about Sunjion, but she reminds him that he must keep his promise to Tajin. As Mori and Ilpio fight, Ilpio begins to point out Mori's faults, but he easily overcomes them by imitating the fighting styles of Mira and Iwi. Mori eventually defeats Ilpio, who kept the promise he made to Tajin to help Mori get stronger if he could. Ilpio eventually wakes up his Charyok, which turns out to be the key. Outside the arena, another fight involves his sectarian followers of Nox who invoke his god. One of the 6 attacks the god with his 108 national treasure weapons. The battle takes a while to finish, but the god is defeated. All Charyuk users feel fear after Ilpio's painful awakening. His chariot was the Guardian, an egg that they destroyed half of paradise because he was betrayed by God thousands of years ago. Mori is thrilled by Ilpio's increased power, and he continues to fight, but he manages to overwhelm Ilpio with his hidden power, wondering if he has unlocked his Charyuk. After the game, Mori visits Ilpio while he's treated at the hospital, but in the same building, there's a fight between young Jugok and Taek. At the end of the fight, Ilpio learns that Taek has attacked his teammates and goes after him. Meanwhile, Mandok opens his god-summoning portal, ending the tournament. Mandok wants to destroy the entire world. The United States decides to launch missiles at Seoul to prevent world destruction. As the battle continues, Taek reveals his true form to consume Ilpio and release the key within him. Mori manages to seize the key before anyone else as Mugen teleports everyone to a spiritual realm. But he teleports them again to Seoul after Jason teleported the city to the side of the cliff to prevent the missiles launched by the United States. Mori, who wasn't prepared for teleportation, chokes upon realizing that the god of Mandok has been defeated by young Chais in the Sis. Taking advantage, Taek captures Mori and steals the key, consuming it and becoming a god. As Taek reaches his new form, he decides to attack Mori and everyone else, injuring Dahiwi who tried to protect his friends. Mori recalls some of his powers and summons his Nuabo staff to fight Taek. The commissioners and the 6 chokes on finding out that Mori does not borrow the power of a god through Charyuk. Mori is in fact the god Sun Wukong in human form. Fighting with his true power, Mori throws several punches and summons Nimbus clouds to trigger light strikes, which makes Taek furious and transforms him into a monster. Mori, having become human again, eventually defeats Taek with the help of Myra, Dahiwi and Ilpio. Relieved by their victory, Kim Oninio, founder of ESSI, appears and grants the winner's wish. Mori wants to find her grandfather but remembers the extreme injuries of Ilpio's friends and wishes them healing. She also reveals to him that his grandfather is alive but Mori faints. 3 months later, Mori finally wakes up. Mira and Dewi tell him to go to the birthplace of the Monkey King to seal his memories as a god.